Trump ally prepares for potential confrontation with China, as Taiwan unveils its biggest military shakeup in years. Is Taiwan finally ready to stand up to the mighty dragon, as it rapidly rearms and modernizes its reserve forces? With drones, HIMARS, and intensive 14-day combat drills, Taiwan is gearing up for what could be its toughest challenge yet. As Beijing watches every move with growing scrutiny, Taiwan pushes ahead with a sweeping overhaul of its war plans. Can Taiwan hold the line if conflict breaks out, as the race to build a truly war-ready fighting force gathers pace? With fewer active troops and smarter weapons, can Taiwan fix its military manpower shortage by training reservists in advanced weapons? Amid growing fears of a possible conflict with China, Taiwan has launched its biggest reserve force reform in decades, aimed at strengthening the island's military preparedness. Taiwan has doubled the duration of its reserve training program. The training has been increased from up to 7 days to a mandatory 14-day program. The reforms come as Taiwan faces increasing military pressure from China, with Beijing stepping up military activities around the island in recent years. Taiwan's reservists are now training with drones and US-made HIMARS rocket systems. The focus is on modern battlefield tactics and precision strikes. The new program also includes live-fire exercises. Troops are trained to operate under realistic combat conditions. Reservists are receiving battlefield first aid training. They are taught how to treat injuries and save lives during combat. Training also includes camouflage drills and long-distance marches. These exercises are designed to improve endurance and field survival. The program features overnight deployments in simulated combat zones. Troops must learn to operate effectively both day and night. Training days now last up to 10 hours. The extended schedule is intended to improve combat readiness. Reservists with specialist military backgrounds are being recalled, allowing them to make better use of their previous experience. Taiwan's defense ministry believes the reforms will improve combat readiness, as reported by the South China Morning Post. Taiwan also plans to include retired female volunteers in its reserve mobilization system. The move will expand the pool of trained personnel. Taiwanese officials say the plan will help increase the country's available manpower. They believe it will strengthen the reserve force. The reforms come as Taiwan faces a growing shortage of military-age recruits. Fewer young people are becoming eligible for service. The number of men eligible for military service fell below 100,000 in 2023. The decline has raised concerns about future recruitment. That figure is expected to fall below 80,000 next year to 79,742, according to Taiwan's Legislature Budget Center. The armed forces are currently operating at about 79% staffing. The estimate was provided by Taiwanese officials. Military planners warn there may not be enough troops to operate new weapon systems. They say manpower shortages could affect combat readiness. Analysts say the reforms also draw lessons from the war in Ukraine. The conflict has changed how many countries prepare for war. Drones, precision strikes, and territorial defense have shaped the new training model. These tactics are now a key part of the program. The Defense Ministry says longer training will better prepare reservists for modern warfare. Officials believe it will improve battlefield effectiveness. But analysts say longer training alone will not solve Taiwan's manpower challenges. They argue that broader recruitment reforms may still be needed. A senior US diplomat in Taiwan has proposed transforming the island into what he described as a hornet's nest of drones to strengthen its defenses. Raymond Green said expanding drone production would significantly boost Taiwan's ability to deter any potential military move by China. He also called on Washington and Taipei to jointly establish a global center for what he described as democratic drone manufacturing. Raymond Green said, and I quote, "The US and Taiwan can anchor democratic drone production and strengthen the collective deterrence posture of the free world." Fortunately for Taiwan, drones have significantly boosted defenders, even when facing overwhelming odds. Nothing will deter conflict more effectively than turning Taiwan into a hornet's nest of air, surface, and subsurface drones. Unquote. Green cited Ukraine's battlefield experience, arguing that drones have allowed smaller militaries to effectively challenge much larger adversaries. Beijing immediately rejected the proposal, reiterating that Taiwan is an inseparable part of Chinese territory. Chinese officials accused Washington of encouraging separatist forces through continued arms sales and political backing for Taiwan. The comments came only days after Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Wang warned that any mistake over Taiwan could seriously damage relations between China and the United States. He urged Washington to approach every Taiwan-related issue with what he called the utmost caution. Taiwan has continued investing in asymmetric warfare, placing drones and unmanned systems at the center of its defense planning. The island has also approved a new defense package that prioritizes the purchase of US-made military equipment. In response, Beijing imposed sanctions on American defense companies and intensified military patrols around Taiwan. Chinese President Xi Jinping has repeatedly declared that reunification with Taiwan is inevitable and unstoppable. China maintains that Taiwan is a core national interest and warns that it remains the ultimate red line in relations with the United States. Amid rising fears of a war with China, Taiwan has just rehearsed its darkest invasion nightmare scenario, treating it like a dress rehearsal for a crisis no one wants to see. On July 3rd, Taiwan concluded a major civil defense drill that simulated a full Chinese invasion, pushing local officials to imagine the island under siege from all sides. More than 370 civilian, government, and military officials took part, turning the exercise into a rare, whole-of-society war game rather than just another military drill. The closed-door exercise tested whether authorities could actually keep the central county of Nantou functioning, even if cut off, shaken, and bombarded in a conflict. The scenario began with a crippling Chinese blockade and then a major earthquake strike, forcing Taiwan to imagine disaster hitting from nature and Beijing at once. Officials then had to deal with hijacked TV signals, sabotage, bank runs, and civil unrest, simulating the chaos that could erupt before the first shot is even fired. The war game ended with a simulated full-scale Chinese invasion of the island, pushing planners to think through what total war against a far bigger neighbor might mean. The exercise deliberately forced officials to juggle multiple crises at the same time, testing whether Taiwan's systems could bend without breaking under extreme pressure.
From our current perspective, there may well be many shortcomings in the way we're doing things. To some people, it might not look particularly convincing, and if a real disaster were to occur, people may feel that the preparations wouldn't be enough or that they wouldn't be able to cope effectively. But that's all right. As I mentioned earlier, we're here to observe how they conduct these drills and, more importantly, whether there's a genuine commitment to bringing these ideas and concepts into our own society. If we keep carrying out exercises year after year, then over time people become more familiar with them and more proficient in responding. Everyone needs to have a sense of crisis awareness. While we all strive for a peaceful and comfortable life, we must also be prepared and develop the ability to protect ourselves when our country faces a disaster. I think people's mindset is starting to change. After all, if you're not willing to defend your own country, then who else is going to defend it for you?
Field drills even included shooting down a simulated enemy drone near a power plant, highlighting how critical infrastructure would be defended under attack. Authorities set up emergency food ration centers during the exercise, practicing how to keep civilians fed if supply lines are cut and shops run empty. Hospitals rehearsed moving key operations underground, preparing for the grim possibility of sustained missile and airstrikes on above-ground medical facilities. Professional hackers were brought in to stress-test government networks, probing for weaknesses that Chinese cyber units might exploit in a real conflict. Officials had to counter simulated Chinese disinformation and propaganda campaigns, learning how to keep the public informed when lies flood social media. Mock press briefings trained spokespeople to quickly identify false claims and push back, so that panic does not spread faster than the truth. The scenario also forced teams to respond to cyber attacks hitting government systems, testing backup plans and manual workarounds if servers go dark. Overall, the drill was designed to test civil-military coordination under extreme pressure, revealing whether Taiwan's armed forces and local leaders can truly act in sync. Notably, the entire exercise unfolded just as China warned the United States to exercise caution over Taiwan, underscoring how quickly a rehearsal could become reality.